All right, so I've been going through all the submissions, and I see what you guys picked for Game of the Year. But I'm just curious, what was your second Game of the Year pick?
Jotun Slayer.
Slayer? God.
Oh, I've lost sleep to that. I had to change my work schedule just so that I could play it more.
Addy, you're just gonna let us sit here? Are you playing it right now, my guy?
Wait, did we start recording yet? Sorry, I gotta play the new elf level. Hold on.
Jesus Christ, dude. Listen, it's a really good game, but come on, man. That's a little excessive.
Dude, he hasn't left Jotun Slayer since I showed it to him. Like, literally, I sent him one clip, and then I just saw the Steam icon pop up. Bloop. He's been in it for weeks.
I just want to know how it's the second pick then. It's so good.
Isn't that crazy?
I might change my pick.
We played so many good things this year that something as good as Jotun Slayer got dethroned by in 3 categories. That's impressive.
It's funny you mentioned that. Let me tell you about my third pick.
Did anyone else's 2025 absolutely just suck? No, just me? Well, the one thing that didn't suck this year was gaming. There was some pretty incredible games to be played this year, and it's time for my annual community games we played this year that didn't necessarily come out this year video. For once, I'm actually covering a game that did come out this year, which almost never happens. Stay tuned, we got a lot of games to get through.
2180. Mysterious machines arrived on Earth. Their appearance was devastating for mankind. Cities fell, nations collapsed, and the surface was no longer safe. Many of the wealthy initiated the Exodus, a mass evacuation off-world. However, millions of survivors were left behind. They had to adjust to life in the underground. Desperation led to the rise of raiders, a brave new class of survivors who would venture to the surface to scavenge for resources. The life of a raider is not easy. The surface is a wasteland, covered in patrolling machines known as Ark, each with their own patterns and behaviours. Some you learn to engage alone. Others, well, you best team up with other raiders. You can only stay on the surface for so long. Get too greedy, and you won't make it back alive. And don't forget to watch your back, raider. Your new friend may just be waiting to steal your loot. Ark Raiders follows a simple gameplay loop. Drop in, scavenge whatever you can find, choose to avoid or kill Ark and fellow raiders, return to Speranza, or die trying. Use the loot you gather to complete quests or craft better gear to survive on the surface. But for me, the main reason to traverse the wasteland is Scrappy. My pet chicken is the best, and I will risk my life to give this little guy the best fruits and as many cat beds as he wants. You have the choice whether to play solo, duo, or in a trio. Each I found play very differently. In solo mode, I found it to be mostly chill and friendly. Everybody's pottering around, doing their quests, trying to improve the community, helping each other, or minding their own business. You might want to be careful out there. Occasionally, of course, you will still be killed. Bro, let's be cool, I've got a free kit. But one thing I really enjoy about this game is even if you're down, you can still escape. You can crawl and call in the extract and still return with all of your loot. Sometimes being greedy, trying to extract camp just doesn't work in your favor. Duels is where things can get a little bit more spicy. Sometimes you can have a good time being friends together.
Like moths around a light.
Other times you might be betrayed. He's shooting me. Killed me. He was not friend. We were being friendly, yo. Or it may simply turn into engage on sight.
If you sense weakness, you take it.
Got him. When it comes to trios, though, you better be prepared for a fight. Whether it be Ark or Raiders, It's all-out war on the surface. There's just something about Arc Raiders. I found myself always coming back for one more raid, just so I could search that extra little drawer, because you never know what you're going to find. The game balance feels just right. I don't feel like if I go in with a beginner grade gun that I'm instantly going to lose a gunfight to a sweaty no-life. The weapon upgrades are affordable, and I never found myself running out of gear. And to be honest, I am not good at shooters. I suck. Like, bad. In fact, the worst part of this game would probably be the inventory management. Mostly because I'm just such a little loot gremlin and I always have too much stuff. But in turn, that forced me to upgrade my gear, to go out there with my good guns with the decent attachments, leading to me to losing that gear fear. I genuinely didn't feel bad when I lost my kit. Throughout all my time in the surface, I'd not had a single toxic encounter, even when I used voice chat. It's refreshing, and I'm genuinely surprised to find it in an extraction shooter. So, for that reason, Arc Raiders is my game of the year for 2025. I'll see you on the surface, Raiders.
Yeah, his friend ran down. Oh no!
Shit.
Fucking killed myself!
Nothing beats serving the queen. Wait, that's not my line. Hostiles. Thanks there, On Guard. We'll get to you in a moment. Let's rev up those chainsaw lancers, dust off those wall bouncing skills, and that active reload muscle memory. My name is DiamondRyce, and my game of the year for 2025 is Gears Reloaded. So what's new in Reloaded compared to the 2015 release of Gears Ultimate Edition? Nothing besides crossplay. It was also meant to introduce newcomers on PS5. Yes, you heard that right. Gears 1 is now playable on PlayStation consoles for the very first time. Console wars, huh? During Gears UE release cycle, crossplay was not popular yet, so the PC multiplayer base was dead on arrival basically, which was the reason I never bought the game in 2015. I did not have an Xbox One either. What the Ultimate Edition did add was the additional chapters between Act 4 and Act 5 of the campaign. Replaying the campaign this time around on Reloaded was an experience. Everything looks shiny and bright compared to the original 06 release. Apparently, there's a quick way to destroy the Berserker by frag tagging them immediately after using the Hammer of Dawn. What is that? No! I still remember shooting this light out in Act 2, and the Krill just makes mincemeat out of those Locust drones. Then, of course, we have the introduction to the Theron Guards for the first time, which being quite scary with their infamous torque bows. Then, in said extra chapters, you need to power up a bridge, but unfortunately there is a Brumok in your way. This happens to be your first encounter with the Brumok compared to Gears 2. Loading back into multiplayer and seeing the likes of Gridlock, Clock Tower, and Mansion, to name a few, all nostalgic memories came flooding back, including a time that I had a Gears 1 LAN party with my middle school friends. Now, one thing that is special with Gears 1 is that it has center screen shooting. Yep, even when you aim down sights, you just line up your shot on the center of the screen, and boom. All Gears characters in multiplayer are also right-handed, so try to keep that in mind when you're in a Nasher fight. Then you have the infamous wall bounce, where basically keeping yourself moving and able to dodge attacks and avoid getting shot at. So add in wall bouncing, pop shotting, there's a huge steep learning curve to Gears multiplayer, but that's what makes it fun. I was never good at Gears on controller, but nowadays playing on keyboard and mouse, I feel more reactive and agile to dodge and able to get around the map faster without getting stuck. With Gears E-Day slated for release in 2026, bringing Gears 1 to PS5 was a good choice, but I keep wishing that the Coalition gives us remasters of Gears 2 and 3. I would love to go back and play that multiplayer suite for sure. Cheers to Gears Reloaded, my game of the year for 2025.
That's right, it's time. When Tears of the Kingdom came out originally back in 2023, I dropped 60 hours on it without even flinching. I was completely consumed by this game, and it really wasn't until I started exploring the depths more that I started to see the limitations of the original Switch. This is one of the very few times where I considered emulation to continue my playthrough, as the performance in certain areas, specifically the depths, was so poor that it was detracting from my experience. But other games came out, I lost interest, and my 60+ hour save went dormant for a bit. Until that is this year, when the Switch 2 arrived on my doorstep. I immediately picked this game back up. All of my issues were solved and then some. 1440p, 60 FPS, 4K upscaled when docked, this game has never looked better for me. Now, I will admit that it is a little ridiculous to say that an original Switch game was my killer app for the Switch 2, but I in no way regret it either. 2 years later, Tears of the Kingdom might be one of the best open-world action games I have ever played. And that's why, this year, in 2025, my game of the year is Tears of the Kingdom. Or is it? Can you believe that I've had Resident Evil 4 Remake this entire time and somehow didn't get around to playing it until late 2025? One of the greatest horror action games of all time, completely rebuilt and reimagined for a new audience. Now, to be fair, I also waited to play the original game too. I didn't end up playing that until it came out on the Xbox 360 some years later, so I guess playing Resident Evil 4 way later is just a normal thing for me. I 100% unlocked everything there was to do in the original game, and I somewhat expected this game to be identical to the original. Now, while that does appear to be true for the broad strokes, I am happy to say that a good amount of this game has been altered for the better. Ashley's companion AI has been significantly upgraded, controls have been modernized to allow moving while shooting, weapons and ammo drops have been rebalanced, and the visual upgrade that this game got is just stellar. I used to say that Resident Evil 4 did not need a remake, but after seeing what they've accomplished with this remake, Capcom has solidified themselves as the masters of the remaster. And that's why for 2025, my game of the year is Resident Evil 4 Remake. No, that's not right either. This year was the year that I decided to start doing my part, and finally help defend the rights of all super citizens everywhere and fight for Super Earth. I picked up Helldivers 2 on PS5 and PC at launch last year, but I did not really play it all that much. And honestly, can you really blame me? Last year was kind of a banger year for games. We got Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Silent Hill 2 Remake, and Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, all just to name a few. But after a year of updates, I wanted to get back into the game and see what it really had to offer. This year, I defended against alien zombies, called in several hundred nukes, explored brand new worlds like the Bug Hive world, fought flying dragon bugs, orbital laser striked just about everything I can think of, faced overwhelming bot hordes, and became a mech warrior. And that's just scratching the surface. The fact that the bulk of this content is also freely available, provided that you have the time to grind, is just the cherry on top. I've also had some of the most genuinely funny and human interactions I've ever experienced in an online multiplayer game. The Helldivers community is among some of the chillest folks you'll ever meet in a game. I can't really put to words the kind of satisfaction I get from dropping into a game with low-level players and hearing them react to all the wild stuff happening around them. I'm at a point now where I'm just kind of building fun, weird builds like melee-only builds just to see if they work. If you're not interested in a PvP game and you just want a chill co-op shooter to enjoy with your friends, then look no further. And that's why for 2025, my game of the year is Helldivers 2. No, actually there's something else. Alan Wake 2 is not just the best game that I've played this year, it is also one of the most creative and visually stunning games I've ever played, period. I have been a longtime fan of Remedy since the original Max Payne came out, and we've certainly come a long way since the days of that haunting bloody hallway set to the sounds of your screaming child. Alan Wake 2 represents the pinnacle of Remedy's game design and storytelling. Every corner of this game is just dripping with style and creativity that you just don't see in many titles today. And this is all probably not going to be that surprising to those who played and enjoyed 2019's Control. Alan Wake 2 does away with all the crazy Force-like powers, flight, and platforming, and instead exchanges it for a richly detailed thriller horror detective story spanning 2 distinct character campaigns. You are placed in the role of Alan Wake himself and newcomer Saga Anderson, who is assigned a case set in Bright Falls. Not long after your arrival, the 2 characters cross paths and agree to join forces to try to figure out what is the darkness, who is Mr. Scratch, and what happened to Alan's wife Alice. Beyond that, this game is a love letter to all Remedy fans. Throughout my playthrough, I was constantly running into characters and references to past Remedy games. Some subtle ones, like Quantum Break's Sean Ashmore playing Sheriff Breaker, to Sam Lake's likeness being used for the in-universe Max Payne character, Alex Casey, a character who also happens to be voiced by the late, great James McCaffrey. If you are a fan of Remedy, you really owe it to yourself to play this game. And that's why, for 2025... I'm not going to do this again, I'm sorry. I'm sure you're getting sick of this gag. Do you know what all of these games have in common? I'll tell you, I already owned all of them. I didn't purchase any of them this year. Something I promised myself for 2025 was I was going to try and cut down on game purchases. Now, I did kind of break that rule for one very big specific thing, that being the Switch 2, but beyond that, I tried to keep it very slim. I'd realized that I'd gotten into this cycle of getting excited for something new, buying it, and then not actually playing it, all while feeling like games just weren't really hitting the same way. In part, the format of this Game of the Year video is inspired by the idea of you do not have to play the latest and greatest things every year. So to that end, this is the point I'm trying to make here. If you felt similar, you felt like games just aren't doing it for you right now, or maybe just new stuff is not doing it for you, maybe take a look through your back catalog for a bit. There is a really solid chance there's a game in there that you just never picked up and you bought it on sale, or a game that you sunk hundreds of hours into and you put it down. You might just find your next Game of the Year.
In the 90s, as camera makers were starting to shift from film to digital, some really weird cameras came out. Among them, the Game Boy camera. Now you might be thinking, what is this toy camera doing in a Game of the Year review? Well, I mean, it does have games, and the camera aspect is very much a component of these games. Also, I would feel remiss if I didn't talk about the chiptune music maker that feels way ahead of its time. I mean, this game's soundtrack and sound effects were composed and directed by the Hirokazu Tanaka, so it makes sense. The sounds on this thing, the music, the little effects, I can't quite describe how much fun and how good they are. The soundtrack alone on this is seriously underrated. But this isn't why I keep coming back to this little device. Its extremely limited and aggressively low resolution camera is what keeps pulling me back in. Maybe there's some nostalgia there since I owned one of these as a kid, I don't know. But I can't help but have fun when using this thing. The camera's very specific look and process almost feels more analog than digital. Don't get it twisted, Nintendo is a very real pioneer in the digital camera space, but the limited storage forces you to, at the very least, think about what you're shooting. Also, side note, if you like the green monotone look of the Game Boy camera images, simply apply a gradient map using these hex codes. The fact that people still care about the Game Boy camera decades later says a lot to its photography factor. Its limitations are what, at least in my opinion, make it so much fun. Its unique design language and wonderful photos are just a cherry on top. I could have picked a game like Counter-Strike, but I find genuine joy in using the Game Boy camera. And I think at the end of the day, that's all that really matters.
I played a lot of great games this year, but the one that really impacted me the most was Haste: Broken Worlds. Change is unavoidable. It's going to happen. It's going to be good, and it's going to be bad. It's going to affect small things, and it's going to affect big things. Some change can be forgotten in a short amount of time. Some change has a lasting impact that you may never forget. But change is going to happen, and the only way to survive it is to see it through. On the surface, Haste seems like a simple game, combining elements from Hades, Sonic, Tiny Wings, maybe Counter-Strike surfing maps, and ATV Off-Road Fury. Hear me out on that one. We play as Zoe, an interdimensional delivery girl who is stuck running from the collapse of everything. The world, every timeline is collapsing and dissolving around you, and all you can do is keep running to find out why it's happening and how you might stop it, or at least survive it. You pick up speed while running on the ground, you soar through the air after launching off of hills, and you have to position your landing on the downslope of hills to keep momentum going. All while avoiding obstacles, attacks, the edge of the map, and while the collapse itself is literally on your heels. This air surfing mechanic reminded me of a beloved game of mine, ATV Off-Road Fury for the PlayStation 2. This was a typical racing game of the era, with Y2K rock music, soundtracking, some blurry graphics, and quick four-wheeler racing. But the thing that kept me hooked to it and insisting that my dad race me all the time was the hill jumping mechanic, where you had to pull up on your ATV at the right part of a hill to get a good boost and try to land on the downslope of another hill to keep your momentum and avoid getting knocked off your vehicle. I immediately felt right at home in Haste due to these similarities. The game is broken up into 10 shards, or worlds, with a branching tree of different runs you can navigate through on each world as you play through, with shops, campfire breaks, mystery challenges, and other secrets scattered throughout each. Each shard concludes with a boss battle of varying different mechanics, but ultimately resulting in you landing a flying headbutt a number of times without dying. As you complete or fail shards, you build up a currency called anti-sparks to spend on character attribute upgrades, such as health capacity, energy capacity, number of lives, and so on, or to get special items from each of the characters that you can use on your runs to assist in your flying. The game gets progressively more challenging each shard, with 3 alternating bosses that have changing mechanics each time you encounter them. The bosses themselves are very simple. You headbutt one head on, the next one you run through its back and out the front to do damage, and the last one you have to catch up with its head and land on top of it. But the gimmicks they use to avoid your attacks take a bit to figure out. But once you've gotten it, or at least found the right item to assist you, the Shroud is very useful. The real challenge is just avoiding the screen-filling onslaught of lasers, missiles, and other obstacles that the encounter throws at you. Your performance speeding through the level also gets graded more harshly as the game progresses, requiring you to prioritize differently in your runs. The levels are all procedurally generated, which helps with level variety, but also means that if you're struggling too much on a given shard, you can abandon it to start over with a new seed and hope for a more forgiving set of obstacles. Aside from the normal shards, you also unlock an endless mode where you can practice, zone out and dissociate a bit maybe, and earn additional anti-sparks. This is all typical roguelite stuff, but the running and soaring gameplay loop is immensely satisfying and had me launching the game any chance I got to squeeze in a quick run or two. I was hooked on the gameplay, but the story honestly absolutely destroyed me. I won't spoil much here, but the unspoken parts about it just haunted me. I finished the main story of Haste in just a few days, with the final levels being played with my 5-year-old cheering me on, which was awesome. He was just as hypnotized by the fluidity of the core gameplay as I was, and he was stoked every time we beat a boss. He was a little confused why I had tears in my eyes at the end, and that's okay. I'm glad I shared that moment with him. With only about 8 hours to beat the game, it was a short play, which is perfect for where I'm at in life, and this game will stick with me forever. Overall, it's hard to have many complaints at this point. The game feels satisfying and responsive. It ran brilliant on my machine and ran good enough to be the perfect Steam Deck game as well. If you do have performance issues, Haste also supports DLSS and FSR to help you out there. I really appreciate how concise and approachable the core story was to play through here. Only taking about 8 hours to beat is ideal for a busy dad like myself, as well as for the perfect Steam Deck game where I often play my roguelikes and my roguelites. That meant I got to experience this beautiful story start to finish in an amount of time that I can actually piece it all together and remember it all. This is aided by the segmenting of the game into shards, where you actually have some linear progression rather than starting completely over from scratch with every run, as is the case with many titles in this genre. Meanwhile, the same amount of time that I've put into Haste, put into Hades, or TMNT Splintered Fate, both roguelikes that I love, I've hardly gotten more than a chunk of the story down. The conciseness actually encourages me to keep coming back and playing because I don't have to fret over keeping up with the story anymore, and I can primarily focus on getting better, maxing out my attributes, and unlocking the special items, of which I've only really unlocked 1 out of maybe 4 or 5 available. Since my playthrough, the developers added a co-op mode among other things, so I need to get back to it if I can put down Warriors Abyss, Jotun Slayer, or Digimon long enough to do so. For $20, this game is a wonderful value, and they have about a 15 to 20 minute demo that's worth trying first. Gotta admit, it was a complete blur going from starting the demo to finishing it and immediately buying the game and running full speed into the game.
My favorite game that I played this year is without a doubt Sayonara Wild Hearts. It's a dreamy arcade rhythm game about riding motorcycles and skateboarding and dance battling, shooting lasers, running from a 3-headed mecha wolf, and breaking hearts at 200 miles per hour. It's a total gem that I didn't even know existed. Released in 2019 by a small team at Simogo, it's described as a pop album video game where you're basically playing through an entire soundtrack with 23 levels in total. There are on-the-rails runner sections, bullet hell sequences, dodging mechanics, and some of the coolest visuals ever. Think of the base as a rail shooter with insane style, emotion, and a very genuine story told in a nuanced and impactful way. It's a very short game with a ton of replayability. It doesn't ask a lot from you, but there's a skill ceiling and a lot of fun to be had here. Ultimately, a phenomenal game to boot up, get lost in, and just vibe with.
Hello, I'm Gregandcin. I'm going to keep it short and simple for you this year. Yakuza 5 is my game of the year. I've been ripping through the series like a madman, and I can feel the bombastic nature and the wackiness and everything just ramp up with each and every entry that I keep playing. Yakuza 5 has you playing as 5 characters. You have Kiryu, Saejima, Akiyama, Haruka, and a new character, Tatsuo Shinada. You really don't have to care about any of the story of this game if you haven't played any of the other games before. It doesn't make any sense. It's wacky. It's Yakuza shenanigans, and again, none of it makes any sense, so who cares? On previous Game of the Year videos, which you should check out, I have yapped about the Yakuza series before, but I'll be damned if being able to be a buff man 4 different times and beat up all the nasty denizens of Japan doesn't get me hyped up each and every time. Each character has their own unique fighting style, some masters to teach them cool and unique moves. They have a bunch of weird, wacky side stories that you get to explore, all while just beating the shit out of people. Sometimes you don't beat the shit out of people, and that's nice though, so kudos to RGG for following up on that. The core of the Yakuza games hasn't really changed much from Yakuza 0 when I started my adventure to now at Yakuza 5. The gameplay has just been tightened since about Yakuza 3 because that game wasn't remade. Well, I guess it was. It just wasn't a great remaster, but now they're remaking it. But what does matter is that I have put in hundreds of hours into these games and I'm still not bored about the different ways I can smash somebody's head into a wall. Not only that, because these games take place in relatively the same environments, they add some new ones each and every time, but I don't get lost in these games. The maps are big enough to have enough people around, enough cool things to explore, and they're very dense cities though, so like you look at the mini map and you learn the map faster than you ever could something like GTA 5's map or Skyrim's map, for example, where those are just huge and sprawling, but this, you have these like 5 little contained areas that everybody kind of understands. It doesn't take that long to get from one end of the city to the other. You just run and it takes you like 2-3 minutes tops, or you can just use one of the taxis if you want to. But why would you do that when you can explore these wonderful, well-crafted places? Now, I've yapped enough about how you can beat up every guy with a pole or your fist or probably like a motorcycle or something, but they have changed it up this time. You notice I said 4 burly men. That's because Haruka is the outlier here. When you're playing as Haruka in the story, you are an up-and-coming pop idol. As a pop idol, you have to do various things, such as perform songs in front of people at random parts of the city. You have to dance battle random people in parts of the city. You have to do these PR things like meet and greets and go on TV shows. It's a whole bunch of fun, wholesome, wacky adventures, really. I will say some of the fans at the meet and greets are a little unhinged. Half of this is rhythm games, and these are not the deepest rhythm games you've ever played, but it's so fun that I would be lying to you if I said that I didn't try my hardest to 100% all of Haruka's side stories and missions. Her section is peak, and I highly recommend playing this game just so you can experience what I have experienced. And since I said I was going to keep this short and simple, buy the whole Yakuza series. It's always on sale. Just like you got Yakuza 0 through 6. You can play all those for like $20 or maybe even less. Not only that, I've played all of these games, modded them on Linux. It's the Linux desktop, baby.
My 2025 game of the year is Dispatch. Now, Dispatch is actually a game that came out this year, and it's gotta be one of my favorite story-based games in a long time. And to be fair, I think that the only story-based game that I played before this was Minecraft Story Mode, which, by the way, is made by the same exact developer. iTalk Games, who made Dispatch, is founded by the same exact team from Telltale Games that made Story Mode, and also The Walking Dead. And this game is a rebirth of that genre. And when you pair iTalk Games with Critical Role, the makers of The Mighty Nine, and a few other things, you get one of the best pairings in video game story history. Now, Dispatch is a game that feels more like a movie than it does a game. And I say that in a good way, because never in my life have I actually watched through 2 1.5-hour Let's Plays from Jacksepticeye about Dispatch. Like, seriously, this is the first game that I've actually been able to sit through a Let's Play in forever. And that's because of its great storytelling, its great gameplay, and most importantly, the cast. The cast of Dispatch is awesome. They have Robert Robertson, or Mecha Man, who is a superhero who was once one of the greatest, who then fell to the rock bottom, only to be picked up by SDN, or the Superhero Dispatch Network. Robert Robertson is being played by Aaron Paul, who later on is introduced to Sonar and Punch Up, who are played by Charlie, or Maurice Critical,
Yeah, baby!
and Jacksepticeye. This pairing is a pairing unlike anything else. This also creates some of my favorite clips from this game.
You gonna eat those Twinks?
That's not what they're... You know what? Help yourself.
Now this game does also feature some other characters, like Blonde Blazer, who is actually one of the other main characters of the game, who is said to be an antagonist, but I'm not really sure on that. I'll have to play through the rest of the game to find out, because as of writing the script and as of making this video, I haven't played it yet. I've only been running off of all of the Let's Plays I've seen, because this game is just one of the games I'm so happy about, because it's a game that I can just play over and over again, because of the amount of details that are hidden inside of it. And I gotta say, now that I've played through this game, I still agree. It's one of my favorite games for those same exact reasons I'm outlining here. So please, play the game. Back to me. And I am urging you to just play the game, because I don't want to give out too many spoilers or anything like that, because I just know that if you guys pick up this game, you'll love it. Logan's Media Up, signing out.
So here's the thing. When it comes to covering a game like Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is your game of the year, you go into it knowing you're basically not going to be able to say anything of value that a million people haven't already said in praise of it. It is deserving, and if you haven't played it yet, you absolutely need to. However, I think the conversation around this game has gotten so clouded by the circumstances of its development that it started to overshadow just how fucking good the game is. It is incredible. This game was made by former Ubisoft developers who left the company to pursue their hopes and dreams, which the company wouldn't let them do. They did it on a shoestring budget. They got amazing talent to voice the performances, including some top Hollywood talent that is just an astronomical get for your game. But the circumstances could have been just yet another run-of-the-mill corporate development process. And if the end product was the same thing, we'd still be sitting here saying it was art of the highest form and the best game of the year by a wide margin. It's not even close. And I think that's ultimately just because it's so fucking good. It's so fucking good. Like, Look, it is an incredible and meaningful exploration of grief that made me feel things I didn't even think I could feel. It is an incredible musing on the meaning of life and asks really big questions, and honestly feels like it gets us a little bit closer to an answer than we've ever been before. And I don't know what to tell you. The gameplay's phenomenal. It's fun. It's got great humor. It's got great writing. It's got great characters. It's got a beautiful world to explore. There is nothing here that isn't amazing. And I don't get to say that often about games, and that's why Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is my game of the year.
I'm giving Talos Principle 2 my game of the year for 2025. Technically, I completed the game at the very end of 2024, but it was too late to submit to last year's video, so I'm playing by the Game Award rules. What makes Talos Principle 2 so good? I've got to keep this video short, so I'll focus on two reasons. First, the puzzles. It is a puzzle game after all. The game has a similar style to Portal, only less linear. You walk into a space, figure out how to unlock a gate, and obtain the reward. Solving the puzzles gives you that "I'm a genius" moment every time. Even if you do get stuck on a puzzle, this isn't a roadblock to the end. You're free to leave the puzzle, go to a different one to solve, and come back later. You don't even have to solve every puzzle to see the ending of Talos Principle 2, but you might miss out on some extra content in the story. Crow Team's design strikes the perfect balance between difficult and clever. After playing Talos Principle 1, I'm happy to see that the recorder and sigil puzzles do not make a return. And yes, This is their same crow team behind the Serious Sam series. But there's more to Talos Principle 2 than just the puzzles. The game has a choose-your-own-style narrative like you would find in Knights of the Old Republic and Mass Effect, and continues the first game's story. Assuming you read all those emails and listened to the sound bites. You'll see characters struggle with choices, challenges of managing a society, and even the guilt of losing others. The choices you make affect the characters around you and the ending. From the mundane, like helping a robot decide if he should change his voice, or choosing if you should get an internal monologue.
Wait, is this internal monologue me? Or some kind of virus?
To deciding what the civilization robot should do with its potential new discovery. There's even an option not to participate in the adventure, although that one's just for laughs. The Talos Principle 2 is the perfect level of difficulty for my problem-solving skills. And it packs a meaningful story with choices that made me ask myself, am I the optimist or am I the pessimist? This is why I'm making Talos Principle 2 my game of the year for 2025. As always, have fun.
Hey guys, Turtle here, back with another Game of the Year video. Admittedly, I didn't get to play as many games as I would have liked this year due to technical difficulties. I had my gaming monitor and 3 hard drives die, as well as I had a lot of personal and family stuff going on. Before I talk about my Game of the Year though, I did want to briefly mention a runner-up that I considered this year, which is The Godfather Dawn's Edition for the PS3. Due to the fact that the game is incredibly difficult in some spots, and the issues I had trying to get it run well on my PC via emulation with RPCS3, wasn't able to reliably capture footage, and sometimes playing it was a pain because there were audio issues as well as graphical issues, so that's why I wasn't able to do that this year. Once those get ironed out though, I may try to stream the game, because it's a remarkably well-made game besides the balance issues. DLC was recently preserved as well, so because this is the definitive version of the game, and it never came out on PC or other platforms, this is the best version of the game by far. I'd also like to just say that some of the previous Game of the Year entries have gotten pretty massive updates, like Vampire Survivors and Phasmophobia, so check those out as well, and also check out the previous year's Game of the Year videos if you haven't seen them already. Those of you who've seen my previous Game of the Year videos have noticed I have a bit of a thing for roguelites and roguelikes, as well as survivors-like games. Well, this year we've got an absolute banger. It's called Megabonk, and oh boy is this game something special. It has a little bit of everything. Interesting, handcrafted, and colorful visuals that aren't distracting, fantastic soundtrack, great UI and presentation, performance is great even on my older hardware, and it's very easy to stream and record gameplay as well. A variety of characters and weapons make it fun and interesting to try new builds, and the tomes also can make some builds really busted while never making it impossible to lose. There are only 2 stages right now, but a 3rd is coming soon apparently. The one gripe I have is that only 2 stages is kind of a bunner once you've got hours and hours in the game, but I still keep coming back, so it's definitely a minor complaint. Once more stages are added, the game will pretty much be feature complete in my opinion. It's also only $10, and the dev is pretty transparent on Steam and his YouTube channel where he occasionally posts devlogs. Highly recommend picking this game up. It's a super fun time. Works great on Windows, Steam Deck, and Linux as well. Anyway, that's my Game of the Year for this year. Hope you guys have a great holiday season. Happy New Year. Thanks again to the April's Fox Discord for participating and letting me take part in this year's Game of the Year video.
Thanks for watching this year's episode of our Community Game of the Year. Special thanks to everyone participating. Their channels will be tagged and linked down below. Let us know your favorite game you played this year in the comments. Join us on the forums to keep chatting, and remember to be kind. Rewind.